Okay, so for my Max Maven variations, this first one is a Klondike Shuffle variation. I will need a mirrored structure just as in the traditional performance. Now, as you can tell, this is an AMP again, and it's not in the same order that the original one was. When it comes to an AMP, it actually doesn't matter what order the pairs are placed within the packet. It makes no difference whatsoever. So I just quickly reassembled this. Now, since this is an AMP, to get a mirrored structure, as you know, perhaps the fastest way of doing that is to perform a mange, as we did earlier. So maybe we'll do an under-over and this time instead. So this is where you deal off the top card, and then you go under, over, 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 under. These are new cards, so they're a bit slippery. Okay, so we know that this is a mirrored structure now, okay? And that's something you can check on your own as you're working this. After you've done the Klondike Shuffle and you started with an AMP, you are guaranteed to get a mirrored structure every time. Okay, as we mentioned before, this could be mixed considerably using our diagram. Let me bring that up just for a moment to remind you of all of the different shuffles that we can actually do with this packet of 16 cards. In fact, I guess I should point out that, and I apologize for being so small here, but okay, so we have a mirrored structure, right? So a mirrored structure is over here, right there, where that little circle is. Now these are structure preserving shuffles here. All of those are, okay? So there's quite a list of shuffles that could be performed right now that would not hurt that mirrored structure. I do want to point out though, we have these special shuffles that apply to a packet of size 4N. So the blue is for packets of size 4N, and the green down here is for packet sizes of 8N, which is what we have. We have 16 cards. So these two green ones down here, if you go on and take the Hidden Structures online course, we can actually use those for this particular packet. If it happened to be a 2-cycle structure, okay? So we started down here, just to remind you, we had an AMP, and then we came up to, in fact, what we did, let's really review this. So we were down here at an AMP, we came up to a mirrored structure, and we performed the mange to do that. Well, that's not the only way to get there, as you can see over here. But in some ways, it's the most economical way of getting there. Okay, so there we are. We are where we need to be. We have a mirrored structure. Okay, so this would begin just like a traditional Max Maven routine, where the goal is to deal these out so perfectly so that the top cards are companion cards. Nope, that would be a fail. Okay. And you can do that as many times as you like, or have the spectator do that as many times as they like. Why don't we go ahead and do 4 and then 8 again, just to kind of show you that. So in the hopes of at least getting a pair of companion cards, or if we're really lucky, maybe we'll get 2 pairs of companion cards. Let's go ahead and deal out into 4 piles. Nope, not even the same value. Oh, those are the same value, but different colors. So that's a fail. Didn't get a match there. You can do as many of those as you like, stacking from left to right or right from left. And we also showed you that hopping stacking, where if you hop over, if we have one, let me just show you here. Let me just show you here with, I'll just put out 4 cards. I'm just demonstrating another stacking that you can do. So you can actually go like that. It's kind of like leapfrogging over the one next to it with random stack here. And you can do that hopping over from left to right or right to left. So I just wanted to mention that again. You've seen me do that a couple of times in the series, and I'm not sure if I ever stopped to explain that, but that follows from the stay stacked principle. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put out 8 piles and just hope to high heaven that we get at least 1 pair of companion cards. This is kind of like that matching game, children's game, where you're trying to get at least a pair. So how are we doing? We don't have any. We have same value, but not the same color. Same value, different color. Well, same thing with the jack, actually. And so that is, unfortunately, a fail. We did not get a single pair of companion cards. Now, if you think about that happening by chance alone, that's actually not very likely that you would fail and not get a single pair of companion cards, okay? And what is perhaps even more amazing is that you can do that as many times as you like. Deal out into 8 piles, reveal the top cards, and you will never ever get a pair of companion cards, ever, okay? So after the spectator's convinced that the universe is against them and they're just hoping that maybe they can have some success, what we're going to do now is we're going to do this Max Maven variation using the Klondike Shuffle. Okay, so you deal out 1 more time and you ask the spectator to use their intuition to choose the top card of either packet. And really emphasize that this is an important choice because if one of these is going to work for us and the other one's not, they have kind of a 50-50 chance. So they're really going to have to feel confident with their choice. So maybe they decide to go with this one here as their choice. Okay, now you as the performer need to remember you have 8 cards here, you have 7 cards here, right? And since these were mirrored piles, remember this came from here, this card here is the companion card to the bottom one here. Okay, you remember that? And if that's not clear, then maybe watch some of the earlier videos where we talk about mirrored piles. Okay, so that's a property of these piles here, that this card here is, quote, paired up with the bottom card there. So they're the mirrored image of each other. That's why we call them mirrored piles. Okay, so if the card of interest is at the bottom, and when we put these together, we're going to have an odd size packet followed by a Klondike Shuffle. Where do we want that special card to be? So an odd size packet, when Klondike Shuffle, will always bring that middle card to the top. It'll be the last one shuffled, right? So if we want this to be the lone survivor, the one at the very end, we need to make sure it's in the middle of this larger packet of 15 cards. Now it is, because it's the 8th card down with 7 cards below it. So it is in the middle position. So now when we perform the Klondike Shuffle, remember that's where you take the top and bottom off as one. Okay? Now if you have an old deck, you have to be careful that the cards don't stick. And of course, since we had 15 cards and these are all pairs, we'll have a little lone card here. Well, the fact is it's going to be the matching mate, the companion card to that one there, guaranteed. Okay, so we finally had some success. Now what's wonderful about this variation, as I mentioned, is that this discard pile of 14 cards is highly structured. We have one revealed pair, which is right here, and then this is a packet of 14 cards that actually forms an AMP. Now remember, an AMP is where you have the matching mates in pairs, moving from the top down. Okay, so this is like we've started over, the whole thing over, except for the fact that we have 14 cards now. Okay, so from here you could actually perform the 14 card Max Maven routine that we talked about in one of the previous videos. So everything that we did with 14 cards in that earlier video, we can do to this packet now, because this is a 14 card AMP packet. Okay, now here's another choice. Of course, you can always just take these cards, and if you just nonchalantly put those on top, where are you? You're back to the beginning with a 16 card AMP. What does that mean? That means you could start this whole thing over again and maybe finish, in fact, maybe we'll do that. We'll finish with the other variation. Okay, so you could do this one with the Klondike, and then the packet easily resets so that you can start over, and now maybe we'll do the second variation so you can see that.